Hey guys, Johnny, welcome back to the Wanderlust bus. We are in part 4, the final portion of our Paradise by the Dashboard Light series, and that is all about putting our dashboard together for our Wanderlust bus. So, today we're talking installation, how we got the panels in, the wood pieces that we did, how we're putting the gauges and all the LEDs in, as well as our, I'd call it innovative, solution for the defrost that we've cut out to make room up front, so we didn't want to use the factory. So that's all coming up today, so go check it out, and see you guys when we get back. Alright, so we are back in the bus, and all of the epoxy is cured, everything is nice and solid, and I've gone back over with a really high grit sandpaper, like 2400 grit I think it was, and ran across it just real light to knock off any tiny things that were left over, and then ran across it with a polishing pad and really shined it up. Now I'm going to hit it again with another polish after everything's installed, because I'm going to put a whole bunch of fingerprints on it here in a couple minutes. So let's get started. We have to pre-drill some holes because the attachment points are, in some cases, are steel. So we need to pre-drill those holes so that we have a good access point, as well as making some holes in some of these pieces so that we can make some, well, prettier fasteners work instead of like a stainless steel bolt. So let's go ahead and let me go grab my drill, and we're going to start pre-drilling some holes. Alright, so I got my drill. We need to pre-drill some holes in the side here so that we can accept the side piece that covers this whole thing. So we're going to start off. I've got some brass bolts, and this is just a little bit longer than that shank. And I got my drill stuff. Alright, we got the holes drilled. Now we need to be able to place this on the back. And in order to do that, I need to get this in place and mark the holes on the back side of this piece. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this in place, and you can't see it on camera, but I'll show it to you in a little picture. This thing here is a wedge that's just screwed in at the very end on a pivot. So now I take this, once I get it in place, I can just wedge it in. Alright, got my C-clamp. Now what I need to do is clamp this in place, because I've got that wedge in place at the bottom. But I also don't want to mar the finish. So I've taken a little piece of one of my daughter's old t-shirts, or Henleys, and I'm going to use that to separate the wood between the finish . Alright, now that I've got it attached somewhat, I've got it clamped in place to where it's actually going to attach. Now I'm going to take this 8-penny finish nail, and I am going to mark the locations from the back side where I've already pre-drilled those holes. Alright, now that I've got that one pre-drilled, I can go ahead, pull this back off, and drill the hole itself to accept the screw that we're going to use. Okay, As you can see, I'm using a very small diameter drill bit, much smaller than the actual fastener I'll be using, and that's because I don't want any blowout to occur on the other side where the epoxy is. So we'll drill from the front through in just a second, and you'll see that here. Now after you've got the main holes drilled, you'll see I'm drilling a countersink so that the head of the screw goes into the wood and mounts flush. Alright, now that everything is pre-drilled, we can get this in place. Alright, and like I said, I'm just using these brass hex head screws that are made for furniture. I actually got them out of probably an old bookcase or something that I had laying around. Alright, got a lock washer on the back along with the bolt, or with the nut, and I'm just tightening these down so they're nice and tight against the metal frame rail. But I want to go careful because I don't want to crack the epoxy. Alright, and that, my friends, is that. Alright, now, I'm just going with some regular brass finishing wood screws, and I'm going to use a regular old plain Jane screwdriver because I don't want to over torque these things and crack the epoxy. These screws are actually going to hold it to the rails I put on the bottom of this. Alright, now we just got to take the pivot clamp out. And there we have a attached bottom piece. Now we got to get the next piece, and that is the secondary piece that goes up here. Alright, so now that we've got the side piece that I showed you in, we need to go to the next step. And the next step was supposed to be the upper portion of that side piece, but then I realized the jigsaw puzzle won't go together that way. And the next step is actually the dash. The big flat piece of the dash is right here. Alright, and as you can see, I've got it notched in the center here to allow for this beam. And what you can't see is behind me, I've got it notched for the to accept the door mount for the pneumatics on the door. So, it's 45'd at the front, so we need to make sure that the very bottom of the 45 is lined up with our metal frame rail. So, in order to do that, I need to go under this thing. And I'm just driving wood screws in from the bottom, and little trial and error determined 1.25 inches is about the longest you want to go on this. So we'll get all these driven in, and once all these are driven in, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, now we've got the pieces attached. Now we've got to attach them to the actual dashboard. I've got the small angle brackets hooked on. Now we just got to get them connected. Alright, once you get a tight fit on everything with the angle brackets all attached to the wood and metal structure, then you'll have somewhat of a product that looks hopefully similar to something like this. Alright, so we've got all of the dash pieces attached to the metal structure and everything else that needs to come together up there. Now we need to move on. And this was supposed to be the end of our 4-part series. So in part 5 of 4 parts of Paradise by the Dashboard Light, we're going to show you how we put together all of the dash pieces and all the gauges and stuff. And that's coming up next. So in the meantime, guys, stop by the website, thewanderlustbus.com. Find us on Facebook. I've also started a new Facebook group that you're welcome to join. It's Organic Wanderers. I'm sure you can find it. And by all means, join us. We'd love to have you. Other than that, Facebook, Instagram, all of the normal stuff. We'll see you soon. Thanks for stopping by the Wanderlust Bus. I'm Johnny. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.